Very much like the franchise it adapts, LEGO Horizon Adventures is all about fighting giant mechanical creatures, all of which require a key strategy. So here's a guide on how to defeat every single enemy in the game. The first one you'll encounter while exploring the Sacred Lands is the Broadhead, a bull-like creature with a dangerous charge attack. Now you might think that you should completely avoid these, but actually you want to use them against it. By letting it charge into a hazard, like an indestructible wall or an electrical field, it'll take a ton of damage, making it incredibly easy for you to secure the kill. Next up are cultists, human enemies that are strong in numbers but not so much in health. You mainly want to stay on the move, constantly doing damage while dodging their range attacks and stunning these Beyblades, or you could instead just pick them up and chuck them off a cliff. Plus, if you see one holding a barrel, you can throw them at enemies and they'll act just like a regular explosive barrel. Sometime later, you should encounter your first Tallneck. Unlike most of the creatures in the game, this one doesn't actually attack you. Instead, you'll want to chase after it, completing platforming challenges and defeating cultists until you can climb onto its head and collect a gold brick. Your next challenge is the Grazer, a deer-like enemy that'll jump up in the air to strike your position. You'll want to dodge their attacks and then do some damage while they're stuck. Plus, if you manage to take out their horns, you can use them as dangerous Beyblades. Up until now, you've been able to stay in the tall grass to plan your next move, but not anymore. These are Watchers, creatures that have the ability to scan and detect you even when you're hiding. Instead of using stealth, hit their weak points as quickly as possible or risk having to avoid a ton of projectiles. Soon after, you'll come across the Scrapper, which has a pretty deadly range attack. Pay attention to when it fires so you can either jump over, get to cover, or instead use the Shellwalker shield gadget to reflect it back at them. The final enemy in this chapter is the Corruptor, a scorpion-like machine that is especially dangerous due to its multiple attacks. You'll want to stay on the move to avoid its heat-seeking missiles, only stopping when it fires a barrage onto you. You'll also want to keep your distance at all times, as its stealth swipe can do a ton of damage. Though, if you do manage to temporarily stun it, surround it with tripwires before attacking it for some extra damage. By this point, you'll have reached Snowchant Mountain, a snowy environment where we encounter several new enemies, the first of which is the Longleg. The strategy for this one is flanking. It only has weak points on its side and back, so you'll want to wait for it to either jump or do its sonic attack before going on the offensive. Next up is the large crab-like Shellwalker, which sports a shield preventing you from doing any damage. Again, the strategy here is all about flanking. You'll want to wait for it to use its laser attack so you can make your way behind it and hit its weak points. If it instead jumps up and down, you can target its shield generator to permanently disable it. Soon enough, you should find your first cauldron, one of the many factories making the creatures we've been encountering. These offer a mix of fighting and platforming challenges before we get to the end and come face to face with the terrifying Thunderjaw. Thankfully, defeating it is pretty easy. You'll first want to activate these zappers to do some damage while avoiding its many attacks and the occasional enemies. When you get rid of half of its health, you'll move on to the next stage. Here, staying close to its legs will allow you to keep hitting them while being safe from most of its attacks. Once the Thunderjaw gets stunned, go to its head as quickly as possible to finish the fight. Our next enemy is the only new addition in the Jewel Rainforest, the dangerous Sawtooth that forces you to constantly stay on the move. Pay attention to which attack it's doing, whether that's using its claws, launching missiles, or lighting the ground on fire. Whenever you get the chance, start getting explosive at it or use gadgets like the Tripcaster for maximum damage. We have now reached the final chapter of the game, Sunfall Desert, where the most dangerous enemies start making an appearance. First up, the Stalker, which can outright turn invisible. Thankfully, you can use your focus to highlight them, then do some damage to fully reveal them. Be especially careful when it comes to their missiles, as you don't just want to avoid the red circle, but also the path they take. Soon after, you'll encounter the Snap Mob, which, just like the Broadhead, can have its main attack turned against it. You'll want to dodge or reflect everything it throws at you until it decides to roll and deploy these explosive canisters. Once it does, pick them up and chuck them at it for extra damage. Finally, we come face to face with the final boss of the game, the terrifying Deathbringer. Your main objective here is to avoid its very excessive force for long enough that it overheats. You'll then be able to damage its legs, take them all out to stun it, and expose its weak spots.